It's me, William Shatner. You know, the guy from the...
Engaged.
That's the one. Now listen. Is it just me, or has everything just gotten futuristic? Everybody has a cell phone stuck in one ear and an iPod in the other. We're all constantly surfing the net, downloading this, emailing that. We use words like Google, blog, and spam. We got robots on Mars, cat cloning in LA. Now, don't tell me you think it all just sort of happened. That's just plain dumb. All this inventiveness and technological whiz-bangery by accident? Please. There's a much simpler and more convincing explanation. I made it happen. Or rather, Star Trek did. Yes, you heard me right. Star Trek changed the world, and I'm gonna prove it.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
Kevin, this is Scott. Kevin, this is
What
Scott.
we didn't imagine was the effect that Star Trek was going to have on a whole generation of impressionable minds back home on Earth. Thousands of little Earthlings were going to be inspired to try and recreate Star Trek. And this time, for real.
Dr. Bones McCoy, caring for the health of the Enterprise crew.
The sick bay that McCoy was running at the time was a revolution in the way we think about managing patients.
Lieutenant Yahura, the communications officer.
Well, the Star Trek communicator to us was not at all a fantasy. It was an objective.
Mr. Spock, the Vulcan.
Star Trek fans in Silicon Valley, everyone's a Star Trek fan here. I mean, it's like a football fan in Green Bay. I mean, it's part of the culture here.
As this insightful, compelling, and award-winningly narrated documentary will prove, Star Trek has changed the world and influenced all our lives.
The prehistoric behind-the-scenes technology, Star Trek's on-screen vision of the future seemed to be catching on. And now we were getting mail from the world of medicine. Stunned by the bits of cardboard and balsa wood, amazing surgical equipment in the Enterprise sickbay of Dr. McCoy.
What happened?
Here was a place where diagnosis and surgery was quick and painless and didn't even require a knife.
No bleeding. It's a medical miracle.
And it was this idea that would help inspire a medical revolution. Real medicine was, of course, a world away from Star Trek in the 1960s and 70s.
Should have responded by now.
Back then, the diagnosis of many serious illnesses in the human body would often involve messy and dangerous exploratory surgery. Now, through Star Trek, the medical community was offered a tantalizing glimpse of the future. Watching Star Trek in the 1970s, Stanford University Hospital brain surgeon John Adler, then a medical student, realized the Enterprise sickbay was the future.
Star Trek just elevated the whole idea. McCoy elevated the whole idea of what we ultimately should be able to do with medicine at a whole new level. 30, 40 years ago, before Star Trek came out, we had only the most primitive understanding of where a tumor was inside the patient's body. In fact, it was a very common thing to do a big operation on a patient, open their skull, look inside, and find nothing.
His brain is gone.
So it was that kind of hopelessness, that inability of physicians to understand why this problem was suffering in the first place, that led to this revolution in modern imaging that was presaged by Bones' sickbay.
Dr. Adler and the medical world had been inspired by Star Trek. The key to the future was clear: developing non-invasive Star Trek-style imaging technology, just like McCoy's medical tricorder. A wonder device that sort of sensed things and then sort of tricorded them or something.
The idea that McCoy could just, wave the tricorder over a patient and in a non-invasive and really pretty trivial manner make a diagnosis was just almost unthinkable.
The medical tricorder could quickly diagnose everything from a chest infection to waxworkitis.
They're like waxworks figures.
But what dumbfounded doctors didn't realize was the truth behind their beloved tricorder. The 23rd century medical sensors were, in fact, salt shakers. Now, they weren't meant to be used in a scene as normal salt shakers.
Who do you think you are?
Until Gene Roddenberry decided they could be recycled to save the prop department a few bucks. Little did he realize they would become the most influential kitchen condiments of all time. McCoy's Star Trek medical magic soon shook up the medical world. Oh, and got salt all over the lens. McCoy was really worth his salt. I got salt all over the lens again. I got a lot of jokes. You know, salt shakers and... do you want to do another joke? Today, we take non-invasive diagnosis like CAT scans and MRI for granted. But now, even surgery itself is heading towards being a lot more Trek and non-invasive, too. And it's here Trek fan Adler is playing his part. He's invented the CyberKnife, a computer-controlled robotic device that emits a laser beam that can painlessly and effortlessly remove cancers in the human body without as much as a knife or a slice.
Beam the tumor, Tony. Literally during treatment, hundreds of beams of radiation are all passing through this tumor, and in the process delivering a destructive dose of radiation that's very accurately deposited in the tumor and destroying it. Not quite as cool as the tricorder, but we're getting there.
Wow, isn't it amazing to think that Star Trek accomplished all that? Even inspiring top doctors to change the world? Even more amazing when you consider they just made it all up off the top of our heads. But hey, it was the 60s and anything seemed possible.